Bring Her Back is the second film from directors Danny and Michael Philippou. After 2023's horror hit Talk to Me, I went into this one pretty blind and just left hype as hell to talk about it. Bring Her Back follows a brother and sister as they uncover a satanic ritual at the home of their new foster mom. That's all I'll say without giving any spoilers away. I will be doing a very small and brief spoiler section at the very end of this video with a huge spoiler warning before, because I have a lot of thoughts to say, but then a lot of spoiler thoughts to get into as well. But before getting to my spoiler-free thoughts, I'd love to hear what you thought of Bring Her Back in the comments down below. After Talk to Me, were you disappointed by this one? Did this meet your expectations? Is it one of your favorite horror films of the decade so far? Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments down below. But without wasting any more time, let's get into it talking about Bring Her Back. Right out of the gate, my absolute favorite thing about this film is the performances. Andy and Piper are the brother and sister duo played by Billy Barrett and Sora Wong, and I think instantly their chemistry is perfect. But also when they first meet Sally Hawkins' character, Laura, I think they all click really well. Well, there's a sense of what the is going on in this house, but then also you build a lot of chemistry. And then obviously some characters take away your trust, and we see how the film evolves from there. But I think for the most part, what makes this movie work so well is just this trust and this dynamic of characters, and then obviously that slow teetering the line into what the hell is actually going on. Jonah Wren-Phillips plays Oliver, who is more so not doing like a vocal performance, it's more so like body horror, and I think it is absolutely phenomenal. I can't really talk about Oliver without getting into spoilers, so I'll do that later in the video in more detail, but he is easily like the best performance of this film, but it's also because he's just asked to do so much in the story. But like I said before, why I think the performances work so well is there are specific sequences where you can tell they are trying to build out these character narratives and dynamics, and then things do happen where we break that trust. But I think for the most part, even though you know that's what the intention is, it still works because of that overwhelming sense of joy and happiness you get, and that 180 from like death and despair to pure happiness that you feel like it's the first time you're seeing these characters actually experience that, to back to death, horror, and insane shit going on. In regards to the horror, I will say this isn't a very scary movie. It's more so a thriller with horror elements. I will get into the more satanic aspects of it in just a second here when I talk about the story evolution, because that is teetering the line into spoilers, so I don't want to detail that too much. But for the most part, it's not scary. It's more so just horrifying, and I think there is a big difference in that. There are just moments that are uncomfortable, like for example when someone breaks glass and you see something slash through their hand and you see like the muscles moving, the blood gushing. That's not horror, but it is just really icky and it irks you out a lot, and that's what this movie succeeds in a lot more than something like Talk to Me, for example, where I feel like that's more so based in atmosphere, which this movie doesn't really put at the forefront, but it doesn't really need to, and it works without that. But when we started to get to the reveals, it did feel a little bit rushed at times to me, and I think it's just the fact that the first half is so based in the characters rather than the actual ritual slash like weirdo aspect of whatever was going on. Anyways, I want to get into this story evolution slash like the pacing of this film, because I think it's its biggest strong suit but also the biggest negative, and this is the only story thing I'll mention before getting into the spoilers in just a second here, because in the synopsis the film says it's about a ritual slash like a devil incarnation type of thing, and I think it's just done in a way that we haven't really seen before. The only other unique like exorcist slash conjuring type of devil movie we've seen recently that's not super by the books is Late Night with the Devil, which I think just is doing a completely different thing than this film. Even like halfway through the film, you wouldn't think that this is some sort of like devil conjuring movie. There are one or two little things or like found footage sequences, something really small and interesting that might lead you to that, but you don't dive into that story aspect until the second half, which might for some people be a big pacing problem, but for me it was really interesting. Without giving anything away, the best thing I can say about it is just the evolution of the story makes the final act feel like Prisoners in a really insane way, but that's all I can say without giving any spoilers away. So if you want my final thoughts slash score of the film, you can skip to the timestamp in the description down below. But now I want to talk spoilers for all things Bring Her Back. There's just random plot points I want to talk about because this movie is absolutely absurd. If you've seen it, you know. One of my favorite things about the film is just how Laura is able to manipulate all of the characters, how the family dynamic worked worked before they were introduced to Laura. I think all of that is executed in a way that only strengthens the story as you move forward. And what I meant by that prisoner's comment earlier was when Wendy, who's like that child service agent person, and Andy himself, when they both die, the evolution of that scene, I mean, it does lead directly into the third act, but the way that that scene is played out is phenomenal. Not only did the score in that scene feel like it was straight out of Prisoners, but the way that both Laura and Wendy are talking, and then you see Andy try to go into that shed, open it up. He sees Oliver eating Kathy, I believe her name is, like Laura's other daughter. He sees her eating his face, and then he's yelling at Wendy, and Laura's starting to lose it. Like, this is the first time we really see Laura start cracking under the pressure. The evolution, technically, on an acting level, everything is perfect. And I think the very end of the film also feels Prisoner-esque, with Oliver laying in the forest and the police coming to get him. And I think the whole missing child thing was also interesting. And going back to that whole like devil reincarnation / like weird satanic shit going on. For context, I knew absolutely nothing going on, like zero. I didn't know anyone that was in the cast. I didn't know a single thing about the premise. All I knew was the directors had done talk to me before this. That's all I knew. But in the introduction for this movie, the director said that the mom is like a satanic devil worshiper, which kind of spoiled a little bit for me, but I still loved it. I thought Oliver's mystery was perfect as this kid that we don't know where his origins really come from. Obviously, the mom lies to Piper about it originally, about how like, oh, he has long, dark, curly hair, but that's just so she says that to other kids or if she talks to anyone else. I originally was like, oh, she's just making a joke because Andy was saying that Oliver was smiling. That's kind of just the way I took it, but after watching it, a lot of my friends caught on right away. I'm just a dumbass sometimes. But for Oliver himself, I kind of read it as he was the devil incarnation, so he had to stay alive / like in that circle to stay as the devil reincarnated, but also so that he had to be the devil for Kathy to kind of become alive again within Piper's body. I could have been missing something. It could have been something completely different, but I really like that they don't necessarily dive into the whole idea of an exorcism / a demon being in Oliver's body. I like that it's just that. They give us enough context of when Oliver first leaves the circle with Andy, and then when she has to kind of do the ritual again in the room while watching those VHS tapes. I like that it's just enough, but they're not bashing that idea of there's like a devil or there's some spiritual thing going on overhead the whole entire time. And in terms of like the gore and blood and all of that kind of stuff, like I mentioned, that table biting sequence earlier, that was absolutely insane. The amount of teeth that were broken in this movie irked me so much. But my favorite like gore / scary sequence of the entire film is the knife scene where Andy is cutting the cantaloupe and then Oliver eats it and starts eating the knife, and then that leads into the circle sequence. I mean, it is all perfect. I think almost everything about this film just works at such a high level. At the end of the day, I was a much bigger fan of Bring Her Back than I expected. I wasn't the biggest fan of Talk to Me, like at all whatsoever. I think it's pretty overrated, but I think that this is a masterclass in almost every single area. There are a couple of flaws here and there, but for the most part, I'm pretty confident in saying this is one of the better horror / thriller movies of the entire decade. Overall, I'm gonna give Bring Her Back an 8.5 out of 10. Again, if you've seen or want to check out this movie, let me know all of your thoughts in the comments down below. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.